Hey everyone, it's Dr. Dave Striegel with the Athletes in Dentistry podcast, learning from sports to elevate your practice. If you want to know how fitness and wellness can get you out of pain as a dental professional, listen to my conversation with Katrina Klein to find out. Katrina is a registered dental hygienist and also a competitive bodybuilder. She shares her journey from gym shy novice to accomplished athlete and reveals how she overcame fears and embraced the demands of not only bodybuilding, but also Spartan racing, highlighting both physical and mental benefits. Katrina discusses ergonomic challenges faced by dental professionals and offers essential advice on integrating fitness into daily routines to combat pain. Her Ergo Fit Life initiative advocates for a health-centric culture in dental practices and promotes well-being while improving patient care. Tune into this episode of the Athletes in Dentistry podcast to discover Katrina's transformative approach to fitness and wellness in dentistry. Katrina, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited for our time today.
Me too. Thanks for the opportunity. We're going to talk about all my favorite things, so how could I possibly deny that?
I love it. I love it. And so where we generally start is I'd like to just know a little bit about your history, specifically on the sports and exercise side of things, and then we'll dive into your dental background as well. But what I find often is not known, or we often don't get a chance to talk much about, is really what we do from a sports competition standpoint in our lives. But I find that the industry of dentistry is just full of people who have very rich lives in sports. So where did it start for you?
Interesting fun fact. I never even had a gym membership. I was actually very terrified of going into the gym and working out in front of people because I didn't know what I was doing. Funny the irony in that, right? Like the place where I would go to find out what to do was the place I was afraid to go to.
Well, there's a certain amount of courage in that, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here was me out in my car crying like a little girl. My friend was literally pulling me out of my car, like, you're just going to go inside. You don't even have to work out today. Just go inside. And I went in and I got my $10 a month membership. And I was terrified. And the person that signed me up happened to also be the personal training manager.
Okay.
And so the onboarding process for this gym was actually pretty brilliant because we asked all kinds of questions and what I wanted to do. And I was like, I was kind of terrified still.
Looking at all these people in there working out and all these machines, you didn't know what they did and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, I had always been like at home workout type things. I had a whole wall of nothing but like magazine clippings from In Shape magazine, right?
Okay.
I was always active. When I was in at home, I was a hygienist and a single mom who had time for working out in the gym.
Sure.
And so here I was in this place where my daughter was a little bit older and I got my membership. And with my membership, then to take note of it, came a free personal training session.
So the way that they introduce you to the gym is by exposing you to, okay, this is what you need to know and a plan.
Yeah. And so they went in as a guide of, if you don't have any experience with this, let me show you how to use the equipment safely. We'll give you a free workout with a trainer so you can use it all safely. And then you can do it on your own. And I was like, well, that's a good idea. Okay. And so I told the personal training guy, give me a month. Just give me 30 days to like let go of the cardio bar here.
That's your comfort level, right? I can do that all day long.
I had a treadmill at home. I know how to work this.
Okay.
And literally on the month of the day, he comes up and he says, so you ready to do your training session? And I looked around and I said, sure. And I was terrified. And I was exhilarated at the same time. And I saw this couple. I decided to sign up for a few more training sessions because it went well. And I saw this couple working out with the fabulous physique. They look like...
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that just happens to be one of my trophies. But I thought, wow, I wonder if I could ever do that. Said, well, of course you can. Why can't you? And a year later, I was on stage.
Oh, you're kidding me that quick?
Yeah. I'm one of those, you're going to do it, you're going to do it 150%. And so I started bodybuilding. Little Miss, terrified of getting out of my car, got into competitive bodybuilding.
Right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. Because it was so exhilarating. I felt the liberation that I got from being able to control what I could do with my body and how I could transform my body by just pushing myself a little harder than I thought that I could. I would have never even tried to do the things that this person had me doing. This trainer had a lot of experience with training fitness competitors. And so I trusted that. And I said, gosh, if you think I can do it, then I must be able to do it. Just a little bit of validation and boom.
I'm curious, and me being a male, I'm going back in my mind to times I've spoken with women about fitness and training and things like that. For some, there's a fear of quote unquote bulking up. So
Yes.
did you encounter that at all? Was there any thought of that in your mind? Because you went from no formal training or at least structured training to on stage in a year. I mean, that's like fast.
I did at one point say to him, I was like, I don't want to get bigger than her. And he said, honey, that does not happen on accident. There's no way.
That's a conscious choice, right?
Yeah. He's like, you will only get that way with sheer force of will.
That's important to know, though, I think.
Very much. And as someone who's done a lot of training, because I became a personal trainer afterwards.
Sure.
Because when you get fit and you're doing things like that in the gym, other people are inspired by it. And they're like, oh gosh, can I work out with you? Can you train me? How do you do that? And I thought, well, you have to have a credential before you can go training people. I feel like that's the right thing to do. Same thing with ergonomics, and that led me into ergonomics, and I got those credentials. Same business, right? You don't dentist people until you have a DDS. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I could even become half of what she is. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Because that was me. That was my limiting belief on what I could do.
Yeah. So talk about that for a moment, because this notion of limiting beliefs, as I think most of us, I could even say maybe all of us, understand the power of limiting beliefs. So talk a little bit about your belief system at that time and how it transitioned in that year-long period from no training to stage.
So initially I thought there's no way I could do that. It was just a closed door. I could never get that physique. That should be on my reach, right? Mm-hmm. I was a skinny girl, just I'm 5 foot tall, right? I'm like miniature size in all the ways. And I was like, wow. And the way that she holds herself, she's powerful just standing there. And back then I didn't believe it. And as I started going through the process, because this particular trainer was extremely strict on form, I squatted for 9 months on the bar without putting weight on. He would not let me do anything until my form was perfect. But once I did that, I was lifting over my body weight. I was squatting over my body weight. I was lifting well beyond what I ever thought possible. And every step that I did something I didn't think I could do before made my mind so much more powerful. I know that now there's literally nothing that I can't do if I set my mind to it, except perhaps get AI to work. Battle the technology monster.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll share that. Okay? Yeah, for sure.
So, but I know that physically I will push myself and I will find a way to make it happen because I know I can. And it's so liberating.
So right there, I do believe that there are, and this isn't reserved just for women, I think men too. We don't have that necessary belief that if I put my mind to it, I can do whatever I want with my body for a multitude of reasons. How do you think someone who might not have that belief system that you just identified around, I figured that if I put my mind to it, I can do it. How would you address someone who doesn't quite feel that way?
I would say take that first step.
Okay.
Because it's not like I went from skinny mini to stage girl in 5 minutes. It took me a year, actually a year and 3 months, but it was a long time and it was constant, consistent work. I didn't lift my max on the first month. I didn't lift my max in the first 6 months. I worked steadily and consistency. What I would say is do that first step and take that first step and keep taking that first step every day, because what they say, 10,000 hours makes you a master at anything.
Yeah.
You just got to keep going. And also I would say evidence that we see is so much easier to hold on to and to feel than evidence that we feel, because you got to see it to believe it, right? We're like, show me people and take pictures. That's why as a trainer, I tell my clients, I need before pictures of you. You're not going to like it. You're going to hate it. I've even had people not sign up with me because they didn't want to take pictures.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm not going to put these out on the internet. This is for your benefit, because in a month from now, I'm going to show you where you were and where you're at. And we take measurements and we do all the things, because if you see that progress, you can't deny it. If your measurements are smaller, you can't deny it. And that fuels you as you start to doubt, is this working? I'm not sure. Is it really working?
Well, on that point, yeah, that's a great point, that the visual evidence, I think, is powerful, in addition to how close fit, if they have a favorite pair of jeans that they used to fit into and now they can't anymore, or something like that as a goal. But the point you made about a person looking at it and hitting a plateau? Because plateaus are part of this evolution of your body, right?
Absolutely.
How would you advise someone? And again, this isn't necessarily about dentistry only. It's really about getting better at anything.
Yeah.
What would be your advice for someone who's hit a plateau?
Try something different.
Okay.
So the body needs new stimulus after about 90 days. Most people reach their plateau with consistent work. You start to plateau. The results start to kind of plateau after about 90 days. And that's even how I have my program geared up. It's for 90 days. We do it for 3 months and then we switch it up. Doing different movements, doing different exercises, maybe doing them in a different order, focusing on something new, like maybe mobility or doing balancing work. Switching up your routine, it keeps you from boredom. Because if you do the same thing all the time, people get bored, right? Like the statistics for new gym members after 90 days is actually like a 90% fail. That's when they quit.
Right.
So it's overwhelming, right? And so if you switch up your routine, you get an accountability buddy, you get a trainer, make it new, make it fun. Don't go in there and sign up for a Zumba class if you hate Zumba. If you hate running.
Just because somebody told you you should.
Yeah, a lot of times people start with cardio. Cardio is the most easiest form of fitness that we like to get into, right? So people will, oh man, I hate running, but I got to start running again. No, you don't. Go cycle, go rollerblading with your kids, go whatever, go be a hula dancer. I don't care, whatever. Not car, ask me how I do the thing that you like to do for cardio because we're going to be doing it. Right. And same thing with anything else you're going to do in sports. I'm not going to go and try to be like a pole vaulter.
Yeah.
I don't find passion in that. That would be miserable for me.
And as a result, if you're not passionate about it, you're not going to maintain the motivation to stick to what you also said a little bit ago about the strict adherence to technique.
Yes.
That's probably a theme that I want to make sure we carry over when we talk about your dental background, because I have found that it's one thing to execute a task or an exercise or something like that. It's another to do so at a very specific level.
Yeah.
And that gets into the issue of quality of the exercise as opposed to just going through the motion.
Yes, absolutely. And bodybuilding as a sport has a reputation for having people get injured.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And some would say, it's because you just get so big, and a lot of times people neglect their stretching.
Sure.
It's kind of a charcuterie board for, say, a physical activity. You can't just stretch. You also need to strength train. You can't just strength train. You need to stretch, and you need to do mobility, and you need to work on balance, because all the stabilizer muscles in there that you can't see in the mirror help those big mirror muscles grow. It's about doing it correctly. And if you're doing movement correctly, and you're making sure you're covering the outer bases, you're doing your cardio, you're doing your stretching, you're doing your mobility, you're doing your strength training. A little bit of all of those things makes a really solid, safe workout that actually will produce way more results in less time than if all you do is 100 hours of yoga or 100 hours of lifting heavy, which definitely looks heavy, but like do the other thing, because otherwise you're stuck in an injury potential situation, and it's exciting when you make progress. Yeah. When you're lifting your mat, you're like, holy crap, I just did that.
I never thought I could lift that.
It catches fire, right? You want to do more of it. You also have to go, okay, wait, I also need to take care of X, Y, and Z so that I'm successful at blah, blah, blah.
That reminds me of one of the concepts I learned early on in my sports psychology career was the balance between stress and recovery.
Yes.
And the higher level you go in anything, the more recovery you need. And it actually is a skill, not just laying on the couch. Recovery is something that is very technical and specific, especially when we're talking about, a type of exercise like bodybuilding and what it takes to be able to do that.
Yes. Bodybuilding is an aesthetic sport, per se, because you're really just building the body for beauty, right? For the physique. But when you get into things like Spartan racing, or you get into other types of sport where you need the athleticism to go with it, you're going to experience the same sort of struggle, in that at some point you have to not just do the sport, you have to live the lifestyle that supports the success of that sport.
Yeah.
Sleeping enough at night, hydrating enough, eating enough actual real food, not ultra high processed junk food. It's a whole thing. And I can tell you that if I don't get my 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night, the next day, my workout's going to be cruddy. I'm not going to be as productive. Like my mind isn't clear. I don't have the mental strength to push one more. Like everything that goes into that workout lends to it. Also, it affects me in my clinical life.
I can imagine to the untrained eye, they may not see the difference, but you can feel it.
Absolutely. I have clients that were completely debilitated because of massive body dysfunction and stuff that work with me, got better, and they will tell me to this day, I feel good as long as I keep exercising. And the minute I stop,
that's me. Yep.
Then the pain spasms start happening, and this happened, and that happens. And honestly, that's what made me go into ergonomics. That's what made me get into this space of helping dental professionals get out of pain, because so many of us are in pain. We work in these awkward positions.
You bet. Hands, neck, back, all those things, right?
All of it. Yeah. And so what I learned, what took me into that space, because I was just, here I am, happy hygienist, 10 years in, no body pain, because I was taking care of myself, right?
Yep.
And then I got into bodybuilding, and like I grew 1/2 inch, which is amazing when they're 5 foot tall.
That's supposed to happen that way, by the way, just so
no, not at 36. I mean,
right.
The vegetables have been there all along. It wasn't the problem.
I know.
And so like I was holding myself differently. Suddenly I was that girl. Suddenly I had the physique. And when people meet me in person, the first thing that everybody says to me is, I thought you were taller. I thought you would be taller. But it's the way that I hold myself, and it's just the way that I am. So that's all happened because of this journey, this fitness journey, and the dedication it takes to saying, you know what? I know I'm at a birthday party with pizza and cake, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to eat what I need to eat.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah, that's tough.
I'm going to get up early. I'm going to take care of my workout, or I'm going to skip this event and I'm going to make sure I go to the gym, or I don't have a life during the week, because after I put in my 8 hours of clinical, I go to the gym afterwards. And I don't.
Choices, right? It's a matter of choices.
It's one good choice after another good choice, and that's what builds it.
So talk to me a little bit about why bodybuilding. What point did you decide, because you were on this journey, and it was a pretty quick journey that you were on stage. What attracted you to the sport of bodybuilding?
As women, we kind of have our fitspiration girl, right? You see these girls on Instagram or on Facebook, and you're like, or back when I was younger, when we only had magazines, you'd see these beautiful women with these ridiculous, amazing physiques, and you're like, I want to be her someday. That's what society has taught us to do, because, you know, we're obviously not good enough on our own somehow. Not what I mean by that, of course.
No, I know, but we all suffer from that to a degree, because we're a function of the conditioning that we all are exposed to.
Yeah, and back then it was magazines. Now it's social media on your phone.
Right.
And so I always had this ideal, and my ideal body was somebody who was very fit. And beforehand, I had always done exercise workouts. It was never to lose weight, because I've always been a very lean person. My metabolism has been high my whole life, and so I've been very fortunate in that manner, but I didn't have any muscle tone. Okay. And the thing that all of my clients, I don't care what size they are, every person that talks to me said, I want to get home. And when you translate what that equates to, it is, I want muscle definition and curves and lean. That's what people want. They want that healthy, fit look. And some to more degrees than others, but I wanted the very fit look. And so as I went into the gym and I was working with this guy, he just happened to have the experience of bodybuilding competitors behind him. And I saw that couple, and that was it. I was like, could I do that? And then the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it. And then I went on stage, because I'm 150% girl, I did win a trophy my first time, which was really exciting and also very dangerous, because now the bar is set way up.
Oh, yeah.
I can't not get a trophy.
Oh, my gosh.
And I placed high, and I did another competition, and I got another trophy. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go up to the next level. I'm not going to just do bikini. I'm going to do figure. And those girls are judged on a different level, right? It took them to another place. And then I got there, and I got that trophy, and I reached my physical potential. I knew that I literally could not get any bigger, and I didn't want to get bigger in that.
Okay.
Because I was becoming bigger than that girl, than that original girl.
Oh, so you crossed over that threshold that you in your mind had set.
I was like, I'm as big as she was, and I don't want to get bigger. Okay. And the only way I could have done that is to go with means that I don't support.
That we all have heard about, but.
Right. Yeah. I'm a natural girl. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And so once I reached my peak, I thought, okay, I've done this. Now what?
Because, yeah, that's an interesting place to be where you sort of achieve the goal, and to go any higher than that doesn't align with your values.
Right.
Was there a little bit of a pause, or did it make you step back and go, huh?
So my last show that I did when I turned 40, it was literally 9 days or whatever before my birthday, my 40th birthday.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that show prep, when I saw that I was becoming so big and whatever, I said, I'm at my physical peak. Because when I approach bodybuilding competitions, it's never me against somebody else. It's always me versus me. I always have to improve me. So if I showed up better than I did the show before or than yesterday, I'm happy. And I knew I had reached the pinnacle of my abilities.
For you.
So for me.
For you. Yeah.
Right. So regardless of whether I got the trophy or not, I knew that was my last competition. I said, I'm going to retire from skiing.
Okay.
I will always be a bodybuilder, but I'm not going through the cycle of bulking up, cutting down, bulking up, cutting down.
Sure.
You know, that cut down in that last few weeks.
That's extreme. Yeah.
It's a lot. It's physiologically hard on the body. And I just didn't feel I had to do that anymore. It was like bucket list check. And I had a really unfortunate circumstance. That same trainer that I had, he had been with me the whole time, and he passed away after my training. And so with his passing, I had already decided I wasn't going to do any more competition. I was like, you know what? That's okay. And you know what I did? I went into Spartan racing, obstacle course racing.
Which is a different application of the same strength and fitness that you developed.
Right. Because when I was a kid, I was a gymnast, and I loved being active my whole life. I did swim team. I did all the athletic stuff, but I always wanted to not just look pretty in a bikini. I wanted to run fast and jump high and do epic things. And through my bodybuilding, I was able to go into more athletic type things. And so I started doing Spartan racing, and that was really fun. And then my business, because I'm an ergonomics coach for dental professionals, I do posture correction through fitness.
So that's one of the big kind of connectors. It says
that would be connector.
At some point you decided dental hygienist, that's the career path I'm going to choose.
Yeah. So, I had been a hygienist for years, but I worked with a brand new hygienist that was seeing a chiropractor twice a week. She was struggling. She was in pain. She said, I'm not going to be able to practice for 5 years. What do I do? And I looked at what she was doing in the operatory, and I gave her some tips there. And I said, why don't you come with me to the gym? And I trained her in the gym with me for about 6 to 8 weeks. And she was like, I feel so much better. I could do this for the rest of my life now if I want to. And you cannot keep this to yourself. You have to share it. People need this. And so
that was the start of it, huh? Ergo Life?
Ergo Fit Life, yeah.
So Ergo Fit Life.
It was initially going to be Ergo Fit Hygiene, which is ergonomic and fitness for hygienists. And then one of my good friends, Elijah Desmond, he's another person that helps a lot of people. He said, do you think that hygienists are the only ones that have pain? And I was like,
I hadn't really thought about that.
And then insert imposter syndrome, insert limiting belief, insert self-doubt.
They all come back in different versions, don't they?
My voice right out of my mouth after achieving all that I had said, who's going to listen to me? I'm just a hygienist.
Oh.
And he said, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, exactly.
And he said, could you help a dentist? Could you help an assistant? Could you help a front desk staff person? I said, well, yeah, of course. And he goes, then do that. Don't limit yourself. And I just said, okay. And then it became ergonomics and fitness. It's a lifestyle. It's for everybody. Everybody can benefit, and everybody can. And here I am, 2025, my 8th year in business, and I have helped so many people, so many dentists, so many assistants, so many hygienists, like all the people. And I'm so glad that I did not let that limiting belief stop me, because I'm not just a hygienist.
No, in fact, it's quite the opposite of that. You were a practicing hygienist all during your journey through bodybuilding. Is that correct?
Before, yeah.
Okay.
I had been practicing dental hygiene for 9 years before I started, or 10 years before I started bodybuilding.
Oh, wow. So that was really your career for a long time. And then bodybuilding came later in life, it sounds like. Yeah.
I didn't step foot in the gym until I was 35.
Well, if that doesn't give people hope, I don't know what does.
Yeah, that's why I try to age is just a number. There's no time that's too late. There are so many Instagram people that these women or men are starting in their 70s or 80s, and they're getting phenomenal results because the human body is so resilient. It will do whatever your brain tells it can do. And when you do something, it's so empowering. It's so great because you realize, wow, if I did this, I can do that too.
Yep.
And then you get to that place and I can do this
One
too.
thing feeds the next.
Yeah.
So then your application of what you've learned along your fitness journey to hygiene, there was that seminal moment when your friend said, you've got to share this. This has helped me tremendously. You've got to help others. And then talking to Elijah helped you crystallize it even further, I think.
Yeah.
So what have you learned are the best or the most important takeaways from your fitness journey that helps dental professionals?
For my fitness journey is really just knowing that you can do it and that everything that you do today counts. A 5-minute workout is better than a 0-minute workout. That's really it. And just take the next step and do something. Because I do a lot of speaking at different associations and conferences and whatnot. I travel extensively. But in my backpack, and I'm a backpack traveler, in my backpack, I always have a resistance band. And I always have a way to get a hotel workout in. Even if it's just a 15 or 20-minute HIIT workout, or even if I just stay out a set of 50 jumping jacks or something.
Anytime is good time, right?
Anytime. Any minutes are better than no minutes. And I would say there's not a time you can't start. And starting where you're at, you should always start where you're at. You don't have to be bodybuilding. You don't have to compete at anything. You don't have to have all the free time in the world. You can be a full-time single mom and do things at home. I make workouts for people with their babies.
Sure.
Do anything that you have in your house. Go to the bathroom, grab a couple of bottles of 16-ounce canteen, and we'll make it work for you.
Yep.
You can do it. There's so many resources. And so just doing something, I actually teach chairside stretches so that people can do stretches at work while they're getting paid.
Yeah. So, again, think about it in terms of stress and recovery. Getting ready for the next patient is you do a minute. And 60 seconds of anything is a long time, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if it's nonstop.
Yeah.
So if we pull apart the physical and the mental or the psychological benefits of what you've learned, the physical part of what you've learned in your fitness journey applied to dentistry, give me a sense of what you feel like the top physical benefits are of what you've learned.
I would say that the biggest physical benefit is that you are not going to be fatigued in the operatory, and people who are in chronic pain and chronically fatigued, you're not the clinician that you deserve to be, that you signed up to be, and you're not the person that your patients want from you. So if you do these things, you can have more energy. You can advocate for your patients better. You have energy at 4 o'clock to treat your 4 o'clock patient with just as much passion, just as much compassion, just as much clinical efficiency as you did at 8 o'clock in the morning when you were like a perio welder, right? And we all know it because half the time we were down our 4 o'clock patient for walking in the door. We're like, why does he show up?
This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, and like we're that patient that just really has a lot of needs or is very sensitive. And if you can come with your A game because you're well rested, because you did your stretches in the morning, because you got your workout in that morning or the night before, and you're ready to go physically, you're not dragging through every hour of your day. And if you think that doesn't lead to like higher case acceptance and higher revenue streams, I'm sorry to tell you, but it does.
I think that's part of the connection to the business side of dentistry is, and the concept that I think of is we all need to train for our job. But a lot of times in dentistry, people think of it as training clinically for their job, not physically. And heaven forbid they think about mental training. That's like non-existent, but
we can have a whole nother podcast on that.
Exactly. But the physical preparation that goes into executing what you do as a hygienist, that I think is what you're getting at with chairside flexibility or chairside strengthening and things like that. I look at that as a pre-shot routine.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's ways you can integrate all this stuff. I have a whole sheet of chairside stretches that I give people. So while doctor's doing the exam, the hygienist or assistant is back here doing a stretch, writing notes, whatever. While the doctor's waiting for the hygienist to get out of the chair to do the exam, the doctor is doing the stretches. How about stretches as a team in morning huddle? Hey.
Ooh, I love that.
I always say teams that stretch together stay together because you feel better. And when you feel better, you're not grabbing at each other and you're laughing with each other because, you did that stretch funny or whatever the thing is. And it brings you together in that not tangible kind of way.
Yep.
And then you feel like you can do more and you do more. And it does feel good. It's very gratifying. When there's so much that goes into the ability to care for patients, we have to put our own oxygen mask on first. And too often, we don't do that.
That's true. And I think part of the maturation process on this, especially when you think about high-level performance, When you operate at a high level in anything, then you realize just how much focus you have to put on taking care of yourself before you can take care of anyone else.
Well, a caregiver is always the one that has, whether it's a person at home or in a dental office,
Yep.
we're giving and giving, not just parts of our emotional soul. We give to our patients all day long, especially when they are fearful patients or they come in and dump on you, oh, I hate being here, whatever. There's that end of it. But we are physically contracting our muscles in awkward positions under static load for 8 hours a day. How is that
Okay,
not
so I want you to say that again, because that's something that any hygienist or dental assistant or dentist, well, and maybe even administrative professionals too, but especially on the clinical side, because they are dealing with a patient in a chair. Say that again about what is really happening with the body.
You're physically contracting all of the muscles in your body all day long in an awkward posture under load for 8 hours.
And under load, explain what that means.
So, for example, when you're not standing in neutral, if you're leaning forward at the hip at all, and of course I do this just automatically, if you're leaning forward at the hip, you're putting load, you're putting weight on your spinal.
Okay, so load equates to weight. So when you lean forward, you're putting load on a certain part of the body.
So if you put your head down, that's all right.
All the time.
That's load on your neck, on your spine, on the upper trap, on the shoulder, like all of this stuff. Then we internally rotate our shoulders. Now we're out of whack again. That's load being put onto all the things. And like that kindergarten song that we learned, the neck bone's connected to the.
Yeah.
We all know it.
Yeah.
And so, but it's true when we forget that because we go into the operatory and I see people, for example, they try on loops. And even if they're the deflection loops, like where you're looking directly forward, the first thing we do, we get on autopilot and we do this.
Yep.
Because that's how we work, right? That's load. It's awkward. It's not neutral. It's static because we're sitting still. It's like doing a plank on your neck for 8 hours.
Yeah, see, that to me is powerful because it's almost hidden. This condition that you find yourself in and this load that is constantly on your body is something we take for granted because you're just doing your job. And of course, you need to just tilt a little bit in order to see the patient and treat the patient, et cetera. But that doesn't necessarily equate to, I need to train for that.
And if we think about the musculoskeletal system, what we do is we think, oh, my spine is out of whack. My neck is out of whack. My head is turned. My skull is turned this way. My shoulder bones are this way. It's muscles attached to bones that make things happen. Bones align, muscles hold together, right?
Okay.
So this is why, like chiropractic, if you go to the chiropractor, they're going to tell you to go do exercises after they have aligned you.
Yeah, why? Because you want to hold this all in place in alignment, right?
Yes, I'll put you back together, but then you want to go build the musculature that's going to hold this bone in the right spot. Because your lack of musculature has allowed things to move out of alignment where it's supposed to be, right? So you think about your vertebrae, you get bulging disc, or you get flipped vertebrae, or you get all these things. It's because the muscle isn't there to support that position. And so they go and they pop it back in, an awful word. And then what happens? It flips right back out because we go back into the operatory doing the same thing we've been doing for the same time.
Yep.
We don't do anything to fix it. And then we go bark ourselves back to the chiropractor a week later and say, hey, doc, I'm out of whack again. Right?
Yeah. And they push it back in and then back you go.
Right. And the problem with that is neuromuscular patterns that we have, whether it's how we scale or how we hold an instrument or how we walk or talk, those muscles and those bones, if they keep getting pushed out of whack, they more easily fall out of place.
Okay. So the more often it happens, then the easier it happens. It becomes kind of a conditioned response.
Yeah, you're more apt to have that L5 move out of space because it's been doing it and you just push it back in. It's like that muscle says, okay, I don't have enough strength to hold it this time because it still is getting pushed.
Okay.
And then we're not building the musculature. We're just laying on the cardio machine.
With your work in dentistry, are there Ergo Fit Life obviously has some connotations just from ergonomics and et cetera. Do you teach dental professionals how to adjust their posture or how they should stand, sit, do what they do?
Yeah, absolutely. I do in-person coaching where I actually work with the team. I'll go into each person's operatory and I work with them with not just patient positioning, but operator positioning, operatory setup so that everything is optimized for them. Because look, I'm 5 foot tall. We might be 6 foot tall. We're not going to work in that space the same way. So they get one-on-one real patients in chairs real life experience, put your elbow like that, put your head like this, move the patient's head this way for that tooth, for this tooth. And so that way you get that training that we may have gotten in school, but we were so busy learning our craft.
Well, you end up just doing the job in any way you can, as opposed to what we were talking about early on was improving the quality with which you execute a movement. It's kind of the quality with which you put your body in a position to scale or whatever it might be. And there's probably a right way and a not so right way.
Or just learning how to use your body to stay in neutral and do that job at the same time. When we're just chasing a competency mark so that we can get to the next place, that's not your focus. And it's understandable, right? Like we're in the hole. We need to get what we gotta get. And then you get done with school and you're like, okay, now I gotta pay back all that money. I just gotta get it done. And the problem for dental professionals is the just real quick syndrome. I gotta get to number 2 just real quick.
Okay.
I gotta get there and I'm just gonna do this just real quick, right? I'm just gonna do it real quick. The problem is every move that we do in dentistry is just real quick. So we're gonna do like 3 million movements a day that are just real quick in the wrong way. Yes, that's what we do. And so it's just commonly accepted that with dentistry comes things.
I hadn't thought about it like that, because when you're in dentistry long enough, you come across almost everyone. I can think on one hand how many people I've met who don't have pain if they've been doing dentistry for maybe more than 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, the studies show that between 90 and 96% of dental professionals report body pain.
That's staggering.
That is a ridiculous number. It is 2024. We have got to be there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree.
So that's why I'm here. That's my goal. Before if I ever get to retire, I'm going to beat that statistic. I don't know how, but I'm doing it. I'm trying.
All right. I love it. I love it. One of the things I wanted to touch on for a minute that we kind of alluded to a little bit ago, we talked about the physical benefits, professionals. What do you see as the psychological benefits of doing this for dental professionals?
I have had people tell me that, yes, I saved their career, but I've also had people tell me that I have saved their marriages because they're not going home every day angry, hurting, and pain, and they can give to their kids. They're not kicking the dog anymore. They don't have to go and dive into a bottle of bourbon. You don't have to do Wine Wednesday to get to work on Thursday.
You're right.
It's really very impactful in your psychological aspect because I hate to say it, but you don't end up hating dentistry. And a lot of people, they like dentistry, but then they get in and they become a person that doesn't like it anymore. They want to transition out of dentistry because we are so emotionally connected to our patient outcomes.
Sure.
And we can't do our best work when we're tired, fatigued, and in pain. We're not going to do our best work that way. We're not going to make money that way. Because if you think people don't pick up on their signals, like this person's not into it, they're not feeling it, they don't genuinely care about me, they're distracted, whatever the thing is, they do. They really do.
So if someone's sort of heart isn't in it, or they're in pain, or they're distracted, or they're just not liking what they're doing, they're just hating dentistry. How does that impact the quality of their clinical work?
I think it's pretty drastic. You just stop caring. You just don't worry about doing all the things. You're not offering things to people, on a hygiene, on the clinical side. I'm not going to worry about offering this person any antimicrobial benefits. I'm not going to go the extra mile to encourage them, or I'm not going to try and explain to them the benefit of the periotherapy that I think that they need. You're just going to do your prophy and get out of there. And that's how so many prophy mills can happen. That's how associates get burned out and they're doing a million, class 2 billing.
Class 2 billings, yeah.
Class 2 billing, they're like, oh, I hate my life.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you get burnt out on it because you're doing the same thing and you're feeling tired, and there's the cultural aspect, which also is impacted by how you feel by your lifestyle, right? If you're exercising, if you're hydrated, if you're eating good food that's going to fuel your body, you have the energy to put into that relationship with the patient, with your coworkers, with the practice, with your spouses and your friends. Suddenly you're not telling people, oh, I don't want to go out on Friday. I'm tired. Because I'm tired becomes part of our narrative.
Sure. Now, as you think about the principal takeaways, that if you were to say, I would want people to take away these, let's say 3 things that are really critical relative to what you've learned on this amazing fitness, physical, dental journey that you've been on, what would those be?
Well, the first thing I would say is get active in whatever form you want to, whatever form that makes you want to keep doing it, get active physically, get help getting active, and whatever struggle you face with doing that. Some people like to work solo, some people like classes, some people need a personal trainer for accountability, whatever the thing is, figure out what that obstacle is and deal with it so that you can get active, you know? That would be the first thing. The second thing is with regards to ergonomics, take one thing that you struggle with. Maybe it's putting your chicken wing up. Maybe it's not using a direct vision. Maybe it's not getting the ergonomic equipment that you need. Whatever your thing is, maybe it's be coaching. Do the thing. Take one thing and do one thing. Lifestyle. Work on your lifestyle in one thing. And that's really what it comes down to me. It's just
Okay.
pick one thing, dedicate yourself to making that one thing better.
I've found that tracking something is really important as opposed to just showing up. And now, obviously, attendance would be one of those things you could keep track of. But do you find that measurement is an important component of this process for people?
I do, especially like with the physical, the fitness end of it. Absolutely. Because we need something qualitatively to be able to hold ourselves up again. I do also feel like there are certain things that are not qualitative, like, are you sleeping better? Do you have energy? How do your clothes fit? You know, I encourage every one of my clients, throw away your scale. It is a horrible metric of health. It never makes you happy, first of all.
And it's really a poor tool or a poor reflection of what health and fitness is. It really doesn't tell you much.
Absolutely. You know, people will say, oh, I'll say, what are your goals? They'll say, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds. What would it look like if you lost 10 pounds? What would that look like for you? Well, I would be able to fit in this dress. I would be able to blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so how about we throw away the 10 pounds? Let's shelf it. And let's instead focus on that dress. Let's focus on this goal. Let's focus on that thing. And so those intangibles are so much more important. You know, I want to lose 2 inches off my waistline. Okay, we can work on that.
Yeah.
That's the goal. I don't think like daily monitoring is necessarily the thing for everybody, because some people will lose one day and they get super discouraged and quit, right?
Well, especially if it's weight or something like that, right? Because there are so many variables that affect weight on a daily basis.
Yeah. Or even I'll do challenges in my fitness groups. Like right now, I've got a plank challenge going, for example. And if I were to say, okay, you get a point if you don't miss any days, the whole 30-day challenge, and somebody misses one day, then suddenly they're discouraged and they're not likely to continue doing it, right?
Yeah.
And we hold ourselves to those kinds of standards when we say, okay, I'm going to work out every day for 30 days, or I'm going to whatever for 30 days, and you miss one day, and then you beat yourself up for it emotionally, mentally. You're like, oh, I'm worthless.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make there, because I think one of the mistakes a lot of people make is they set an unrealistic standard for themselves. And then as soon as they miss one, to your point, miss a day or something like that, then, well, I'm not perfect anymore, so I'm just going to toss the whole idea.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, one of the things I do tell people a lot is please give yourself grace for being human. We are human. I'm not perfect. Perfection is a myth. I don't expect perfection out of anybody else. I think that if we hold ourselves to Arnold Schwarzenegger type standards as a first time beginning person, like we may need to break that up into action steps.
I think maybe so. Yeah.
Like, how about we just get to the point where we can go in and confidently work out in a gym without being concerned for safety first, right?
Great start.
Yeah. Let's dedicate ourselves to 3 days a week.
How about just not be terrified going to the gym?
Yeah. Step away from the treadmill.
Yeah. And fair point, because again, like we talked about very early on today, I think a lot of people are afraid of getting too big or bulking up. And I loved your statement about, look, bulking up doesn't happen accidentally.
No.
That is a choice that takes repetitive focus over time for you to get to any point where you feel like, oh, I'm too bulked up.
Right. Well, and there's a big misconception about resistance training, weight training, and cardio. Everyone thinks that like cardio is the way to lean out, because we all want to lose body fat, right? I don't care where you're at on your fitness journey. I don't care if you're Chris Bombach, you want to lose body fat, okay?
Yeah, right.
Like we all want to look hot in a bikini or speedo, whatever. So like fine. But what people don't understand is that just having an extra pound of muscle on your body burns 50 calories a day just by leaning there.
That is, I think, a key takeaway for me, for people to remember, is that the benefit of weight training and resistance training is the muscle you build ends up being an engine, a bigger engine
Yes.
Burns calories while you're sleeping.
While you're awake, you're losing calories.
I
And
love
the funny
that.
thing is, most people on average burn maybe 100 or 200 at the very most calories per hour of cardio. Hour. Just math with me for a second, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm a hygienist, so it's like 3, 2, 3, that's it, okay? So we're not going to be complicated. That's a joke. If I work out for an hour, I do an hour of resistance training. Heck, let's make it 30 minutes of resistance training. And I do 30 minutes of cardio afterwards. So it's an hour. I'm going to burn more calories in 3 workout sessions like that than I would burn in, I think it's 7 or 8 sessions of 1 hour cardio.
1 hour cardio. So 8 hours of cardio.
As opposed to 3 1-hour workouts, because of the muscle I'm going to build in all those resistance training workouts. So like,
You tell me what the best allocation of time is.
Contrary to popular belief, I don't want to spend all of my hours in the gym. It is my happy place, but I don't want to spend all my hours there.
Sure.
If I can go in and get an hour's worth of weight training and half an hour worth of cardio done in the gym, that's plenty for me. 3 times a
Or
week.
to what you were talking about earlier, even if it's 20 minutes of
30 to
each.
30. Yeah. Because you're going to get so much benefit out of that. And it's like, why am I slowing down $1 to pick up a dime? But we just think, oh, I've just got to burn off that cookie I ate today. That cookie was probably 400 calories anyway.
Yeah, you're going to be on the treadmill a long time.
I'm just going to say it right here and right now. You cannot outrun the force. You cannot do it. You could spend your entire 24 hours a day, somehow manage to prop yourself up in cardio while you're sleeping, and you could not outrun eating a bad diet. You can't do it. There's just too many calories.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point as well, in that, and again, this is something personally I learned early on in working with professional athletes, is that great fitness versus great nutrition, if you have to pick, you pick nutrition.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of the fad diets over the last 10 or 15 years have really taken off, because people are like, oh, I can lose 10 pounds in a month. That's awesome. But then I'm going to go back to eating the way that I was. And by the way, when that 10 pounds comes off, I don't look how I wanted to look.
No.
It didn't do the fitness, the exercise to put definition into their muscles. And then they don't get the result they wanted. And then they're like, oh, now I'm saggy, or now I'm flabby. I got that look that
I thought I was going to lose that pooch in front, and it's still there.
Yeah, no, all I've done is I've lost my muscle.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now I look worse in my dress, or look worse in my clothes.
Yeah, I would definitely caution people to stay away from fad diets. A lot of the time it's a yo-yo scheme that ends up with worse health when you're done. No, just
put in the work. Just
put in the work. Yeah,
you
know. I mean, we could have a whole other podcast on nutrition. I mean, obviously there's a whole lot to unpack there, but definitely put in the work. If you have been sedentary for 10 years, okay, you haven't done anything. All you've done is go to work, go home, drink wine, get to Wednesday, do the thing, and you haven't done anything. Get out and take a 10-minute walk around your block. That's it.
And there's a lot of science around the benefit of walking too. And that's what I would also remind everyone of, is if you don't have time for anything, simply walk. Take your dog, go walk by yourself, go with your spouse, go with your kid, whoever is there, or by yourself. Walking is, I don't have the article in front of me to quote it, but I want to say that walking has been shown as perhaps the single most beneficial exercise that there is.
I feel like I read that study as well.
Does that sound familiar?
It does sound familiar. I do a lot of longevity research as far as like understanding the difference between health span and lifespan and things like that. And walking is a huge contributor. It goes into that NEAT time, that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So basically it's all the things that we do, the toe tapping or the, getting up and just being active. Like moms of toddlers, they are active. They may not be weight training, but they are active. Okay?
You bet. Yeah.
So that's like your non-exercise activity time. And so walking is that. I have a gentleman in my neighborhood who must be 155 years old, but this man walks every single day. And I mean, I don't know how many miles, but every single day, rain or shine, he walks. And you know what? He looks pretty healthy to me. He has a very good conversation ability.
And I tell you what, I don't recall the source of it, but the gist of the topic was, what are the 3 most important muscles in the body for longevity? The first is the heart, second is the lungs, the third is the quads. And why is that? Because the quads are the key to movement. If you can't move, you can't be social. So longevity being tied to not just the physical body, but also the psychological benefits of being connected to others. So if we don't do anything to maintain our movement, which is connected to walking, then that limits our ability to circulate with our family, our friends, etc.,
Right.
which limits our ability to be social. And I think that factors into this entire conversation as it applies to dentistry, because if the dental community adopted more of a mindset of training for their job that's not clinical in nature, it's physical, they'd be able to work longer if they chose or work better for the time they did choose.
Right. Well, I mean, it becomes an injury prevention thing. And that's how I was able to dive into ergonomics. That's kind of what took me there, because my friend was having injuries. She was
Yeah.
having pain, especially now as we experience shortages in workers. You know, it won't always be that way, but currently it is. If we want to keep the staff that we have, we don't want them going out on workers' comp, which, by the way, there's a motivation here. The cost of an average workers' comp claim is that person's annual salary.
Is it really?
It is.
That's astounding to me.
It is so high to lose somebody on disability. It's so ridiculous. And many private practice owners who are, you're kind of a mom and pop business.
Yeah.
You're still a small business or boutique business owners, unless you're corporate. But even corporate people, they can't afford to have a workers' comp claim.
No business can.
Nobody can. And so if being active as a team avoids that, let's say, yeah, that's a good idea, right?
100%.
And so maybe our bonuses, or maybe replace our pizza parties with a massage therapist coming in, or a yoga person, or an exercise person coming in, teaching a class once a month. You guys get some activity, or incorporating 15-minute stretch session at the beginning of the day, or whatever. Maybe promoting a health and wellness culture in your practice, as opposed to, okay, we're just going to hand out a bunch of cash and pizza and let everybody go. And who doesn't like cash, right? Everybody loves cash, but we like more. You like feeling good.
Absolutely. And that's something that's really difficult to pay for.
Right.
Becomes more and more expensive.
Even in our office culture, we keep a bunch of garbage food in the break room, and all
that's
these
a great
things.
point.
And what if we house fruits and vegetables and healthy foods in our break room for snacks? And what if on our potluck days we try to focus on healthier options or whatever? I actually have a course that I teach on career longevity, where I talk about what happens to our 1 o'clock patient that comes into the smell of pizza or French fries. And then we sit down in the chair with them and tell them that they need to eat healthy because it's better for their teeth. Are we not sending mixed messages?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is we are. But to your point, and I think it has to be part of a cultural decision that you make. And it has to be fun. Otherwise, it's just eye roll and whatever, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen that. I've been in offices where we do weight loss competitions. They do these, and everybody puts in $50, and it's always January or whatever. And whoever loses the highest percentage of weight wins the contest. And they look at me and go, "You're on wax diet." And I'm like, "Okay, fine."
Fine, whatever. Okay.
I'm
going to do it anyway.
Weight. Contrary to that BMI chart, I know I'm not obese, but
Right, yeah, great point. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, please, let's throw that thing away. It's so antiquated.
Yeah.
When I went on stage, I looked at the numbers on there on the little chart.
Yeah.
Said that I was obese.
Yeah.
A 9% body fat. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah, it's not meant for people like you. It's not meant for people who train seriously.
No. Well, muscle weighs more than fat, so
it does. It does.
But anywho, it's a culture thing. We got to get fitness into our lives, whether it be, lunch hour walk. I encourage that. Get outside, get some vitamin D, unless you live in Minnesota and you can't walk outside. One thing that I tell people to do is, if you were to find a place in your break room for, say, a treadmill.
Okay.
What happens if people have the ability to get on there for 10 minutes during their lunch hour? Just 10 minutes. You take turns. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you just walk. Nobody wants to get sweaty and then go back to work.
No.
But just 10-minute walk on your lunch hour if you live in Minnesota. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or, say that you are together in the group or whatever, you have a bunch of resistance band, or you have a foam roller in your office, a yoga ball in your office. You can go in and just stretch on that thing, or do some balance work or whatever.
What other suggestions do you have for practices that are practical in that way?
Oh my gosh, all of them. I stretch on the way to get my patient, lunges down the hallway. We can get as creative as real. Let's do it. Call me. I'm happy to help anybody. I will make a wellness program for your practice. we can do it. Get a yoga mat, not in your operatory because that's just yucky. We don't want
Okay,
to.
yeah. So we do have to, apply a little bit of logic to this.
Yeah, let's not touch the floor with our hands. Okay,
Okay.
let's just start there. But if you have no room where you don't do dental work in there, and you could maybe put down a couple of yoga mats and people could go in there and stretch maybe or have a space for that. And of course, that means as the leader, everything starts at the top. You can't expect your staff to get vulnerable, get down on the floor and show their weaknesses and, oh my gosh, whatever. They're not willing to do it too. So do it together, get vulnerable together. You might actually form a better bond. And teams that are cohesive, that are like glue like that, they do amazing things.
And there's actually been a good bit of research done on why people stay in jobs. So as a retention strategy, the growth in their role, connection to their team members and to their patients, compensation obviously is a factor in retention, but also balance, work-life balance, and then flexibility with life. When life comes up, life happens. Is my practice able to flex if needed? But that connection piece, you're looking for a place to work. And one practice has a culture that supports what we're talking about here versus the other has the donuts and the bagels and stuff like that and doesn't really pay any attention to the physical part or the health part of what you do. Which is going to draw you? Which is going to make it seem like, yeah, this owner really does care about me?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen owners do bonuses for gym membership where they will pay for a gym membership for their staff and their staff get points on how many times they go to the gym.
Oh, I love that.
They incentivize it. They're like, okay, you're going to the gym and I don't know, there's probably some automated technology thing that I don't understand that makes that happen, but but they have this. And so they get incentivized and then whoever is like the most consistent gets it, like a little prize or something, or that's how they get some things, or they get a percentage off of their healthcare monthly premium. So the more that they do things to be well, whether it's exercise or also I know an office that they do, if your blood work comes back better than it was before, like you're showing signs of healthy improvement, then they will give you something based on that. Like, because you're more healthy, you're more likely to come to work. You're not going to call out sick all the time if you're healthy. You're not going to cost the practice money. You're going to be able to advocate better and be a better hygienist or a dentist or whatever your role is. If somebody is investing in you, in your health, that will take you long beyond anywhere you might stay with them. People are going to stay there longer.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And what a gift an employer, I can't think of a better gift that an employer can give. A practice owner can give to a team, a focus on their health and wellness. It's a gift that goes far beyond the practice.
Well, and two, on a monetary basis, okay, say I'm somebody who I've been a little sedentary, I've got an extra 50 pounds sitting on me, whatever, and suddenly now I have incentive, a financial incentive that if I do X, Y, and Z, if I go to the gym, if I make my blood work better, blah, 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 I may get a financial incentive on my monthly healthcare premium. So it's not so financially expensive for me. That's a win. That's a financial win, right?
Yeah.
So like the practice wins, the provider wins, the patients are the ultimate winner in all of it because they get better healthcare from people who are healthy.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up today, I usually end with a session called the 2-minute drill, which is just 2 minutes of rapid fire, you answering questions that I'm asking, just fun questions to learn a little bit more about you. But before we do that, if anyone wants to learn more about what you do or your background, et cetera, how would they do that?
Ergo Fit Life. So if you go to ergofitlife.com, that's my website. I have all my webinars and all things up there. My email, ergofitlife@gmail.com. My Facebook group, Ergo Fit Life. My Facebook page, Ergo Fit Life. My Instagram handle, Ergo Fit Life.
Let me guess, Ergo Fit Life.
Yeah, like if you look up Ergo Fit Life, you got me.
Okay, awesome.
So they can DM me. I field questions all day long from people who have random, like, oh, I saw this posture brace. What do you think? Or I saw this workout routine. Is it good for dental people? I saw this hand piece. What do you think about that? Like you got an ergonomic or a fitness question as it would pertain to anything, but dentistry is, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? What are your thoughts about it? I am always here. I'm super available.
Awesome.
Help people.
Awesome. It doesn't take anybody talking to you for like 3 seconds to know that you really have a passion about this and ergonomics and health and fitness, and as it applies to dentistry especially. So On behalf of the dental community, thank you for your devotion to that because you really are helping make dentistry a better place to work.
That's my goal. That's really what I want.
Okay, so now we're going to start the 2-minute drill, and I have a little clock here. That's a 2-minute clock.
Okay.
Again, there's no right or wrong answer. These are just fun questions that I like to ask as a way to finish up. Okay. All right, here we go. What's your favorite healthy snack?
Ooh. I like fruit.
Any particular kind of fruit?
Nectarine.
Oh, nectarines. Okay, that's not one I typically hear. All right, fantastic. Do you have a favorite sports movie?
Oh, Blindside. Sandra Bullock.
Oh, yeah, you bet. Love that one. What's your favorite sports memory or health and fitness memory?
Oh, my first trophy. They called my name and I was just standing there trying to hold my pose. And I was like, okay, just keep holding it because you have to contract your body the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Whole body contraction, in posing, blah, blah, blah. And they called my name and I almost didn't hear it. They called my name twice and I was like, oh, that's me.
You mean there's another Katrina Klein here?
Yeah, I was like, oh, wait, that's me. I'm sorry, I'm coming.
Oh, that's fantastic. What's the most challenging part of balancing dentistry and fitness?
Balancing dentistry and fitness. Time. Time is always the hardest part, and not going home after work. That's my biggest thing. Like if I go home after work and I don't go directly to the gym, the home base is the most powerful magnet on the planet after work. I'm not going anywhere once I've gotten there. So yeah, it's time. I've got to just go directly to the gym or it's not going to happen.
What's your go-to pump-up song before a big game or procedure or performance?
I don't know. I don't know if I have one. And I'm so awful with names. This is like literally my worst thing ever.
Okay, let's say a genre of music then.
Oh, like hip hop, something.
Kind of dance music, that kind of thing?
Yeah, like pop, hip hop, dance, something with a good beat,
Okay, fantastic.
It will have been on the radio, unless I'm like in a mood.
Well,
there might be some metal thrown in there,
Okay, all right. So it gets to be kind of eclectic bunch of tunes then that you listen to.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, my playlist library is all over the board. All over the board.
Katrina, I can't thank you enough for coming on today and sharing with me all the wonderful elements of your journey through health and fitness and bodybuilding and Spartan racing and dentistry, and now your legacy, which really is Ergo Fit Life. The dental community is better off with you in it, so thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I enjoyed this immensely, and I am thrilled to be able to talk about the benefits of athleticism as it comes to dentistry, because there is truly a lot that ties in. And I am so grateful that there are people like you that want to talk about that and to inspire others to get athletic, to get physical. So thank you for doing this.
It's my pleasure. Now let's all get moving.
Yes.